All right, cool. But yeah, this message is from people like you because I know that we are in massive momentum right now. And if you're not in momentum, you were in momentum at some point in recent time. And that means that there has been or there is a huge influx of new students that came into this space. And I recognize that fact. And that is the reason why I'm giving this training right now. Is because a lot of people, when they come into this, they are hunters. They are hunters. And I said this on the inviting call I did on Friday, I think. But or whenever I did it. Uh no, it was Saturday. It was Saturday. But a lot of people that come in and they're hunters. Whatever that may fit, whether that be trading, they're going out hunting for trading results. That is at the forefront of their mind. I'm I have an axe to grind, and I'm about to go get these results. Not a bad thing, but it's also not a very good thing. Then let's translate that to building. A lot of people, they're hunters. They go out and they look for people. They go out and try to force their results. I'm saying that's a bad thing, but it's also not a very good thing. New update to the schedule. Hold up. 962. What's the update? All right, we'll figure that out later. Hold on. Oh, okay, I got you. But but most people, they're hunters, and I have a solution to that. Instead of being a hunter, you need to be a farmer. And it's that fact that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about being a farmer. I'm going to come back. I wanted to start the beginning of the day talking about how you could be a farmer and what it takes to be a farmer in this business. And then later on tonight, I'm going to go over how you could take that, being a farmer, and translate that into your business. See, being a hunter will only take you so far. There's only so many times you can go to the lake and catch fish. See, what we want to do is we want to be farmers. So that farmers, they plant seeds and they nurture those seeds and then they reap the harvest and then repeat again. So, sheesh, we got another one. Shout out to you. Again, this one is for you. I highly suggest that y'all take notes because this is probably one of my favorite trainings. And I'm in this mode right now. I'm in this mode right now. I'm gonna talk about this book. I'm gonna talk about that book, but I'm not gonna talk about it right now. What I want to do is I want to paint the picture. I said we all need to become farmers. What do I mean by that? Marquise, what do you mean by being a farmer? How can you be a farmer trading? I don't see no farmers trading. I don't see no farmers building. That's not what I mean. A farmer plants a seed with intent for it to grow. She nurtures that seed until it is ready to harvest. And guess what? They reap what they sowed. And guess what? They repeat the process. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically repeat that process. We're going to walk through that process today. Not going to be before you long. I just need another about 40 minutes, 40, 50 minutes. I'm going to be straight. But let's talk about the very beginning. A farmer plants a seed with intent to grow. Now let's talk about the seed. See, in this business, you have seeds that you sow, whether that be 6 figures in the broker, chairman 10, platinum 1,000. I want to make X amount of dollars a month. Those are all seeds that you have to plant in this business. So one thing that I really want you to figure out, matter of fact, take the time right now. I want you to list out 3 things, 3 seeds that you want to sow right now so that later on you can reap the benefits. I want you to write down at least 3 things that you want to, 3 seeds that you want to sow. And then follow these next steps, and I guarantee you, you're going to see it. I guarantee you, you're going to see it. And this is something that I didn't really realize until I came into the business, because I was doing this long before I was in the business, because I learned about it long before I was in the business. The planting seeds. Now, let's go through the next part of that statement. A farmer plants seeds with intent to grow. Now, I want you to notice a key term right there. I said a farmer plants a seed. Now, here's what I want you to notice. See, you want to plant your seeds. You do not want to bury your seeds. A lot of people, what they do is they indirectly, they unintentionally bury their seeds. And the reason how they bury their seeds is just because what they speak to the seed. See, what I'm going to be going over later is a lot of people, they tend to focus on what the plant is doing on top of the ground, but they don't focus enough about what the plant is doing underneath the ground. And I'll get to that here in a second. But see, our seeds that we're planting in this business, they're very, very, very fragile. They're seeds. They're just beginning out. They're just beginning out. And what we need to do is we need to give them the proper rite of passage. Like I said, some people focus on what the plant is doing, what the seed is doing on top of the ground instead of underneath the ground. So it is on us to not only plant the seeds, which means when you plant something, you have intent for it to grow. When you bury something, you have intent for it to die. And a lot of people indirectly do that by the things that they speak to their seed. The very thing that you want to manifest, you bury it. You bury it with your words. You bury it with your thoughts. You bury it with your environment. Like I said, these seeds are very fragile. You cannot just do whatever you want with these seeds if you really want them to manifest. So remember, you got to plant your seed. Once you plant your seed, you got to be around the right things. You got to be thinking the right things. You got to be saying the right things. And it all starts with you making that switch. Say, okay, this is a seed for real. This ain't just a desire. See, what I'm talking about is I'm talking about taking a desire and turning it into something real. I'm talking about taking a vision, a figment of your imagination, and turning it into something real. Once you realize that, you'll start to be more careful with your seeds. Imagine it like this: your seed is like an enclosed package, and it says fragile on there. You can't just knock it around. You can't drive crazy in a truck because it might break. And that's how people, they indirectly bury their seeds instead of planting them with intent to grow. You want drop a 1 in the chat if you really want to manifest this deal. If you really want to see the things that you write in your journals, if you want to see the things that you see in your mind, you want to hold them in your hand like everybody says. I see a lot of people dropping ones. And now it's time to make that switch, say, okay, this for real. Handle with care. That's it. That handle with care. Handle with care. I got my seed. And to people that want to speak down on that seed, see, you got to protect your seed as well. See, farmers, their job is not only to plant those seeds and nurture those seeds, but it's also to protect them from things that will come and scavenge and eat them. So you have to protect your seed and handle it with care. See, you gotta, for people that want to speak down on you, full get from up out of here. I gotta handle this with care. That's like you got a fresh glass of Kool-Aid and your sibling want to come and play and bounce around. You better not spill my Kool-Aid. You better not. You spill my Kool-Aid, it's war. It's the truth. You gotta handle that. You gotta handle your seed as that. Because what people will do is they'll come and they'll try to scavenge for your seed. But remember, it's your seed. You got to treat your seed as if it is your future, because it is. And it's your job to make sure that it gets to that point. Ooh, that's a bar. I'm going to write that down. Your seed is your future. It's just on you to make sure it gets there. That's good. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as that is concerned. We talked about a farmer plants the seed with intent to grow. Now, we talked, this is just the beginning. The farmer planting the seed. But we need to talk about where the farmer plants the seed. But before I do that, I want to talk about 4 things in the seasons. Now, you may have been one of my other trainings, and I use the seasons to describe people's personality types. That's not necessarily where I'm going with this. I'm saying the actual seasons as if, a metaphor to when you plant your seeds. So if you know anything about planting seeds, you know that you typically plant your seeds in the fall time. You plant your seeds in the fall and you reap in the spring. However, and this is true, a lot of people say this, after good times, there are bad times. After bad times, there are good times. And it just repeats, and that's true. Especially in the world of farming, in planting seeds. See, let's take this. Fall, winter, spring, summer. Let's say you plant your seed in your fall time. That means that the next season is winter. And this is where a lot of stuff is going to start to make sense. Now, if winter follows the time that you planted your seed, that means that the whole purpose of the winter is to test the authenticity, to test the strength of your seed. And this is where it's going to start to get good. Because when you plant your seed in the fall, it can't just be any kind of seed. You have to plant a seed that's going to be able to endure the winter. Yes, it's fragile. Handle with care. It's probably one of the most fragile things that you'll ever have to care for. But it's also got to be able to endure the winter. The winter weeds out the strong from the weak. The winter weeds out the professionals and the amateurs. The winter weeds out the amateurs and the posers. So when it's time for you to plant your seed, You have to make sure that not only you have the proper intention for that seed, knowingly and unknowingly, but you also have to make sure that it's able to endure the winter. Because if it doesn't, your seed, nah, it ain't gonna make it. I've personally seen it. Winter is cruel. Your seed will be tested. Your seed will be tested. Let's see what that looks like. The people that are closest to you. See, when the seed starts to take root and it starts to really, really work, some things just start to change up here when you start to see it. But that's the thing. You're the only person that's going to be able to see it. Nobody else. And when you start to see it, guess what happens? You start to think differently because you see it. And when you think differently, you say different things. You start to speak it. Yo, if you planted to see the chairman 10, you didn't necessarily believe that you were going to be a chairman 10 when you planted that seed, guess what? When you start to see it, when you start to see it work, when you start to see it take root, when you start to see it make sense, you're going to start thinking, yo, maybe I can hit chairman. Maybe I can hit 6 figures in a broker. Maybe I can make 7 figures in a broker. You may have not made nowhere near to $100 in a single day. But you get in this environment and it starts to make sense for you. You start to make $25 a day, $50 a day, $75 a day, and you start to see it. You start to speak, yo, I can make 6 figures. I can make $100 a day. I'm already making 75. I can hit Chairman 10. I just hit Platinum 1000 in 30 days. Chairman 10. I just hit Platinum 2000. I can hit Chairman 10. I just hit Chairman 10. I can hit Chairman 25. Shout out to Mr. Marvelous Chairman. And when you start to speak those things, the vultures come. Trust me, I know. It's when you start to realize and you start to speak what you see. That's when the danger comes. It's kind of like when you're in a relationship. As soon as you say that you're in a relationship, what tends to happen? Your past starts to come and haunt you. Once you get in a new relationship, you start to say you in a new relationship, everybody want to hit you up now to try to tear down what you built. And the same thing happens in this business. The exact same thing happens to this business. And that's going to lead me to my next point. You have to watch where you plant your seed, let alone you have to watch where you say what your seed is. You don't always have, you always have to watch where you plant your seed, but much more where you say what your seed is. Because at the end of the day, you are the only person that can see it. So when you say it, you might have just lost your power because nobody else can see it except you. And not everybody can handle the label of being called crazy. Because remember, you planting your seed, you're the only one that can see it. You're the only one that can see it work. But every inventor, every black sheep was crazy until it made sense. But that leads me to my next point. You have to be careful of where you plant your seed. Because, yes, the winter tests the strength and authenticity of your seed. But your seed is pointless if it doesn't take root. Repeat that again. Yes, winter is made, it is designed to test the strength and authenticity of your seed. But it won't make it past the day, the week. The seed is pointless if it never takes root. And I'm gonna explain what that means right now. You can't plant a seed anywhere. See, you have to make sure that your seed is planted in good ground. Well, that's the general biblical sense. That's biblical terminology. But in realistic terminology, that means your soil got to be good. Literally, it can't have any rocks in it. You can't plant your seed around other seeds. Where you plant your seed at, it has to be a good plot of ground. Because guess what? If you plant your seed in soil that has a lot of rocks, it'll never take root because the rocks will suffocate the roots and it'll never be able to get the nutrients it needs. If you plant your seed, let's say around a rose bush, it'll never be able to survive because what is a thorn bush? What is a rose bush made to do? Protect itself against foreign objects. So what do you think it's going to do when you plant your seed around a rose bush? It's going to protect itself against foreign bodies. And what does that look like? Rocky ground, rose bushes, thorn bushes. It's your environment, your paradigm, the words that you speak, the people that are around you when you plant your seed, where you plant your seed. It all determines whether it'll take root or not. See, I said this is one of the most important things you will ever have to care for in your life. It's your future. See, you are the co-author of your future. Notice I didn't say author, you are the co-author of your future. There are certain things that you cannot control. See, the reason why the seed is even in your head in the first place is because it came from somewhere. But that's a whole nother training. I'm not even going to get into that. Y'all know how I get. Your seed does not come from you. It's just up to you to make sure that you get it. Because guess what? You live where you settle. And if you settle for leaving that seed unplanted, you'll live with that seed unplanted. And you'll always have this thing in the back of your head. I should have planted the seed while it was still fall. Now it's winter. You can't plant your seed in winter because the soil is not as good. What that means, your belief. When it's winter, that means that the opposition is heavy. That means that the means to test the authenticity of your seed is now testing your authenticity instead of your seeds. And it's going to be much harder for you to plant a seed when you have a hard enough time planting yourself, rooting yourself so that you don't wither away. Because see, you get tested as well. Shout out to Mr. KW. He's the one that put me onto this. See, your seed is not the only thing that gets tested in this business. You do as well. You get tested to see if you can even handle the success that you ask for, that you're planting. What's the book? What's the source? What's the? Huh? This is a combination of the Bible. and just some sauce. Like there's no notes nowhere. There's no notes nowhere. But it's in the Bible. But yeah, you have to be careful about where you plant your seed. You have to be careful of who you allow around your seeds. Because not everybody is here to nurture them in the same way that you. Matter of fact, nobody can nurture your seed like you do. So you have to be careful of who you let around your seeds. Because as soon as you say it, that's when the opposition starts to come. Now, here's where we're going to talk about nurturing your seed. See, a lot of people will come out, they'll water the plants, they'll water the plants, they'll water the plants, they come out every day for a month, and they water the plants, and this goes back to the last point. But you have to nurture the seed under the ground before you nurture the seed above the ground. You have to nurture it below the ground so that you can nurture it above the ground. Right there. Right there. Right there. But nurture your seed below the ground. What do I mean by that? Yes, make sure that your seed is planted in good ground. But you also have to make sure that your seed takes root. And when your seed takes root, you have to make sure the roots are strong enough to bring the seed above the ground. What do I mean by that? Once you plant the seed in good ground, of course, everything we just talked about, your job doesn't start. Your job doesn't stop there. Your job does not stop there. Yes, your seed has kind of taken root. But who said the roots were strong enough to bring it above the ground? And how do you strengthen the roots of your seed? You have to strengthen the roots of yourself. It's kind of like what we talk about in this business. You got to pour into your cup so you can pour in somebody else's cup. But when it comes to strengthening the roots of your seeds, you have to get better as a person in order to do that. Because you have to speak life into your seeds. You have to. I said this on one of my trainings. Once you make the shift of your mind, you start to think different things. Once you start thinking different things, you start saying different things. But you have to make sure that when you say those different things, that they give life to the roots, not to it's to the seed anyway. But you get the point. You give life to the roots so they can strengthen to bring the seed above the ground. That's when the consistency comes into play. And that's where personal development comes into play as well. So your consistency in watering the plants, that only comes when it's above the ground. But it's on you to develop yourself daily to make sure that the roots are strong enough to even get the plant above the ground. Because have you ever seen a plant? I mean, I'm a landscaper, so I've seen it. You've seen a plant that has taken root, but the roots are so small and so fragile that one little tug can just break the root apart. Don't let that be your seed. That its roots are so fragile that one little tug will break the roots apart and it loses its nutrients. Don't let that go over your head. Don't let your seed be the seed that has roots that are so fragile that one little tug will break the root apart and it loses its nutrients. That's why it is important that you develop yourself daily. You start, where's it at? You start reading the books. You start writing the audios. You start reading the audios. Listen to the audios. That's why it's important. So that you get the things necessary. And I read this last night, bro. I read this last night, and it really, I had to write it down. And it said like this. I'm gonna read it. And one thing that I was really, really struggling with was intention. Okay, yeah. One thing I was really struggling with was intention. And what it was talking about in the book, and mind you, this is why it's important. Because before I got into this business, I did not read at all. I didn't finish my first book till, that one book with that strong dude and that mouse. That was the first book that I finished ever. And that was in high school. That's sad. And now I'm reading The Power of Awareness. But it says, look, when you attain control of your internal direction, of your attention, when you attain control of the internal direction of your attention, you will no longer stand in shallow water, but will launch out into the deep of life. You will walk in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, as on a foundation more solid even than earth. That hit home. That hit home a lot. And once I got that development, these are all things that I can use to strengthen the roots of my seed. Because my seed right now, Chairman 10. What chairman do you know that does not move with intention, that is not a master of their attention, as it says in the book? These are all things that I can use to speak life. Like I have it right there. Discipline and intention. Every day. So when I look at it, I move with discipline and intention behind everything. If you want a little tip from the book, it says before you go to sleep, replay your day in reverse. From the last thing that you did to the first thing that you did. Once you're able to play your day back in reverse, you have mastered your intention. Because you can only do that when everything you do is with intention. That was just that was a bar. But back to what we were talking about. How we doing on time? But a farmer plants the plant, plants the seed with intent to grow. He has to watch when he plants his plant, where he or she plants the plant, who he or she allows around the plant, and he has to make sure, she has to make sure that they strengthen, or they have to make sure that the seed takes root, strengthen the roots, so that all they have to do now is remain consistent in nurturing the plant until it's ready for the harvest. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. A planter plants the seed with intent to grow. He or she has to watch where they plant the seed, when they plant the seed, who they allow around the seed, make sure that the seed takes root, strengthen the roots of the seed so that all they have to do is remain consistent in nurturing the seed until it's ready for harvest. All right. That's pretty much. I can end the training right there. I can end it right there because the biggest takeaway, there's two of them, is that you have to realize the power of the seed that you plant, and two, you got to nurture the plant below the ground first, not above it. And that's where a lot of people go wrong in this business. They have the desire, but they want to remain consistent on the desire instead of remaining consistent on nurturing the seed. Just because you have the desire does not mean the seed is planted. Just because you plant the seed doesn't mean it has taken root. Let's say your plant does take root. That doesn't mean your roots will last the test of the opposition. Once it gets through that, that's when you remain consistent. That's when you show up every day. That's when you do the 10-10-10. That's when you plug into Go Live every day. That's when you do your phone work daily. That's when you develop daily. Is when the seed has taken root and the roots are strong enough to endure the test of time. That's really it. Now, let's talk about how to physically apply that. Get you one of these joints. I have two separate ones. I have my journal, which I use to journal. And then I have this right here. This is something completely different entirely. This ideas. This is my gateway to the spiritual. This is how the spiritual, this is the first step on how this second step. This is the second step on how the spiritual can be made physical. The first step is in here. Second step is in here. The third step is doing exactly what I told you on this training. Then the fourth step, there is no fourth step because you live it. Each one of these. Oh, and I got a little bookmark, aka a sticky note. I'm so happy and grateful that everything I write in this book comes true. But I even wrote in it a little bit. I said, here lies the mind of Marquise Finch. This book will be a collection of thoughts, ideas, goals, and aspirations seeking physical expression. This book will be a physical written copy of my subconscious mind. Everything I write in this book will come true. I expect it. These are my seeds. And to the future me, take care of them, nurture them, and in God's timing, you'll see it. In these pages is $10 plus million. Keep it close because this is your gateway to the spiritual. It's already done. Let's get it. So everything I write in this book, y'all not ready for what I write in this book. Y'all not ready for what I write in this book. Because everything I write in here, it's already done. All of this, it's already done. Mastering my discipline and my intention is already done. Guess what? Henry B is already done. 2000, 2000, 1000, it's already done. 2021 F-150, 2021 1500 Eco Diesel, Stingray, Piper PA32, it's already done. Project 10K, it's already done. But I planted those seeds months ago. And the reason why I even wanted to do this training right now is because I realized there are a lot of new people that came into this space. Maybe even some people that want to plant seeds but don't know how to plant them. That's the whole reason. And the beauty about it is that we're in the springtime right now. We're in the springtime right now. A lot of people are reaping what they've sowed. But the beautiful part about it is that everybody is in a different season. But a lot of people don't even know what their seasons are or when they're in each season. But now I hope that it starts to make sense. You look back, oh, I was in this season. Oh, I was in that season. Plant your seeds. Whatever you have in here, you can do it. Whatever you hold in here, you can do it. It's meant for you to do. If it pops up in here, it's a mission for you to complete. All you have to do is bring it from the spiritual to the physical. How do you do that? You take it from your mind, you put it on paper. Once you put it on paper, you plant the seed. You don't bury it, you plant it. And guess what? You have to do what you got to do in order to plant the seed in the right place at the right time. Watch who you allow around your plant, around your seed, because not everybody is here for good. Then you have to develop yourself daily. Read the books, listen to the audios, get on the trainings, develop yourself daily so that you can speak life into your plant, to your seed. Strengthen the roots of your seed. Anchor your seed into something that's strong. And guess what? It'll endure the test of time because you will endure the test of time. And guess what? You remain consistent. You show up every day. You show up to the trainings. You show up to the events. You don't go live. You plug into the academy every day, even on the weekends. And guess what? You do that long enough, your plant is going to be ready for harvest. And when that time comes, you'll reap it. But it all starts with realizing that your seed is your future. What you do with that will determine what your life will look like. And I guarantee you, you'd want to live the life your seed gives you instead of the one you live right now. So with that being said, that's my time.